Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another review. This one not being a Christmas movie. I'm also going to be reviewing movies that are just in theaters, not just Christmas movies this month, but I'm going to try to make most of them Christmas movies. And this movie is one that came out about 10, it did come out 10 years ago now. It is Interstellar, and it was back in IMAX. I don't know if it's just for this week or what, but I do know it made a crap ton of money, really, for it being a re-release. And the theater, when I went at a 3:30 showing on a Wednesday, was actually fairly packed. So this is kind of a big deal to a lot of people. So I did go back and see this one. I never got to see this movie in IMAX. I saw this movie in a regular theater. And I remember when I saw it back in 2014, I appreciated it, but I did not love it. And this has been a Nolan movie that I have not really gone back to watch all that many times. I do own this movie on Blu-ray. I've maybe watched this movie 10 times, maybe 15, 20 is pushing it. But I haven't gone back to rewatch this one as much. Um, and my thoughts tonight have slightly changed. I will say that. The IMAX experience of this movie makes this movie a lot better. At the same time, some of the problems I had 10 years ago with this movie, I still have with this movie. Um, so let's first start with the fact that the acting in this movie is great. Matthew Mcconaughey is wonderful. Jessica Chastain in this movie is wonderful. The girl that plays young Murph, I want to find her name. We're going to go to IMDb a lot on this movie just because I think it's important to be looking at these things. Mackenzie Foy, who plays young Murph, she's absolutely great. John Lithgow, great. Casey Affleck, great. Timothy Chalamet, before we really knew who Timothy Chalamet was, he's great. And the actors that they got to get, the young actors they got to be the younger versions of the older actors, they look so similar. Their voices sound very similar. You can totally believe that Casey Affleck's character is Timothy Chalamet. It totally works out. So the acting, period, in this movie is fantastic. Um, Absolutely great. Um, the the look of this movie is absolutely insanely amazing. I knew this movie looked great, but seeing it in IMAX tonight with that actual extended IMAX, this movie flipping blew me away. Um, Almost to the point that I was like forgetting about the flaws that this movie has, which we'll get to in a second. Uh, but it just looks so flippin' incredible. It really does. Again, we're going to go back to this thing because I want to bring up who did cinematography on this movie, which, if I can find it, right here, all cast and crew, cinematographer. That name that you can't even really read. Hoyet van Hotomia. I don't know how to say the name, but the cinematography, absolutely incredible. Um, the direction in this movie, absolutely incredible. Just the fact that a lot of this stuff was very practically done is absolutely incredible. Um, it just looks freaking amazing. Um, it's the story that starts to lose you a little bit. But the idea of this movie is fantastic. The first hour, when we're really kind of showing Earth as it is in a time period that they really don't say. I like that this movie doesn't have a year really attached to it because it makes it a little more timeless. Um, but there really isn't any year attached to this. We don't know really when this takes place. But the world is falling apart. We're not able to really grow much things anymore except for corn, and even that is starting to go away. Um, and it just it's so beautifully set up while at the same time not needing to show too much. There is some kind of exposition dumps, but at the same time it's used in a very good way. I think it's done quite well. um, and I just think this world is set up very nicely. um, Cooper as a dad is awesome. He is a bad dad at times, in the sense he's like, she punched a girl, great. I think I'm gonna bring her to a baseball game. Give her lots of candy and soda. Like I that's not necessarily the greatest parenting, but at the same time it is, because he just is enforcing the right things in his kids, and just the relationship between him and his daughter is absolutely great. His relationship between Tom, though, is just so interesting, because halfway through this movie, it's almost like just forget that he has a son. Tom almost does not need to be in this movie, except for the fact that we need the family farm to stay there, and we need grandkids, and it doesn't fully work for me when it comes to how much he's obsessed with Murph, and just does not give a flying flip about Tom. That's always bugged me about this movie, and it still tonight just really did bug me. It's like, Tom is the one giving you grandkids. Tom is the one sending you messages. Tom is the one taking over the family farm. Tom is the one still living in the house. Tom is the one actually putting effort into you, and you don't care about him. At least that's what it feels like. That has always bugged me about this movie, and it still does. It just really did bug me. And it's funny. I've watched a video a couple times on YouTube of the amount of times that Matthew McConaughey says Murph or Murphy in this movie, and the amount of times he says Tom. And it's like 20 times for Tom, 180 times for Murph. Like, it is such a huge difference. It's not even funny. And it's just like, are you a good parent if you don't give a flying flip about your son, Tom? And yes, John Lithgow, like a couple times throughout the movie, says, like, Tom will be okay. It's like, yeah, but still. The kid's like, what? He's 15 years old, I believe, in the movie, and Murph is 10. And so it blows my mind how much it doesn't seem like we care about Tom. The other thing that does particularly bug me about this movie is it has a lot of science-based things. Like, I don't quote me on this, but I believe this movie was supposed to be for Spielberg at first, I believe. And like, the guy that was helping out Spielberg was the smart guy doing quantum blah 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 physics stuff that I don't understand. And once it was kind of given to Nolan and his brother to rewrite and look at and stuff, that guy still stayed on. But then there's still some things that don't necessarily add up, with like the spinning of stations and docking, and some of this stuff doesn't necessarily make sense. When you're watching it in IMAX like I did tonight, you go, dang, this is real. But it's really not. There's certain things that just don't make sense. Um, Particularly with the ending, I'm not going to spoil anything quite yet. Maybe I'll get to the end where I really start spoiling a little bit more. It's been 10 years, so if you haven't seen this movie, well, where have you been? Um, but yeah, certain things just don't line up. And then just the ending of itself. The last 10, 15 minutes of this movie really just kind of throw everything in your face, and just answers that we really didn't necessarily need, and they're not very fulfilling, and they kind of just add to this nearly 3-hour runtime of a movie. So in that sense, it is disappointing as well, which again, 10 years ago, I went, I don't like that ending. So it has stuck with me. Well, again, seeing it tonight in IMAX, it still did bug me. But at the same time, the last like hour of this movie is essentially 90% in IMAX, 95% in IMAX, and there is some truly beautiful, amazing shots. And you can tell there's practical things. You can tell there's not as much CGI as most movies nowadays are. And that is cool. But at the same time, just certain things do bug me in this movie as I'm watching it. But I will say, watching it in IMAX tonight, it helped. I kind of forgot about it. I was kind of lost in everything. Um, and Nolan, I believe, has said that like he wishes his movies were never put on at home, that they should just be experienced in a theater. I'm kind of starting to understand why. I really felt that tonight, and just like how this movie is better in a theater and it's not as good at home. Um, so yeah, the ending of this movie, not a fan of. Um, just how certain things are supposed to be so important, but at the end of the day, they're really not, or they're not shown to be as important as they claim to be. Um, it bugs me about this movie, and then just certain motivations and things don't make sense when you think about it. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more in spoilers here. So yeah, basically my rating for this movie is kind of stayed the same. Tonight, as I was watching this movie, I thought it was going to stay this, was going to go up, but it really hasn't. As I drove home and thought about it, so at the end, this movie is a 7 out of 10. I'm going to get into spoilers now. If you have not seen this movie or you don't want to know spoilers, I'm about to spoil things. So here we go. So really where this movie starts falling apart for me is towards that last hour. Um, After the basically the twist starts bugging me. The twist of Michael Caine's character had no intention of saving mankind. Essentially, he just wanted to get a new world started elsewhere. He wanted to save mankind, but not the Earth. Um, that's where things start falling apart for me because he left a whole bunch of stuff for Murph to solve, but at the same time, did he just leave it just in case she solved it? And even with her solving it, they managed to get all the resources on Earth into this spaceship going towards this other planet, but wasn't all the resources on Earth already falling apart and weren't going to last much longer anyway? So it's able to last to get to this other planet. I mean, it gets fuzzy for me. And then the idea that love is the thing that saves all. Love, this connection between father and daughter is the thing that saved mankind. But then when he goes to see her, she's like, "Oh, hi, Dad. Nice seeing you. If you want to leave me alone now, I'm going to die with my real family because they were actually here for me." When you know that your dad didn't go do all this to abandon you, he went to go save you, save your family that's in front of you. And you're just like, bye, Dad. Go find that one girl that may or may not be alive because Matthew McConaughey is floating in whatever for how long. You don't even know that the Brant is alive. And not only that, but what if her boyfriend is alive? So what? You're just gonna be like, oh, you guys are sweet. You go start your family. I'm just gonna hang out with you guys. Like it turns into a comedy, which is something I forgot to mention. This movie does have some great comedic moments that I really enjoyed. But anyways, going back to what I was talking about, it just it would be so weird to be one of three people technically alive on this planet. Which, granted, the spaceship is coming to the Murphy station is coming to that planet or whatever. But it's just I don't know. It seems a little the ending just does not work for me. And even the bookshelf thing, I was your ghost. Let's face it, we all kind of guessed that Matthew McConaughey is the ghost, quote unquote ghost. That wasn't a twist. The bigger twist of this movie is more that Michael Caine's character didn't give a flying flip about people on Earth, that he just wanted to save mankind, which at the end of the day is a good motivation because we are saving the people. We're thinking about not just us, but what's more important. So you almost agree with Dr. Mann and Dr. Brandt, or Professor Brandt, or whatever you want to call him. So yeah, as I was watching this, I was like, oh my God, I think my grade's going to turn to an 8. And it just, as I'm going home and thinking about it, I'm like, no. The spectacle of this movie tries to make me think it's better than it is. It's not as good as I want it to be. I remember seeing this and going, I'm slightly disappointed in Nolan in this. That this is his first movie after the Dark Knight trilogy is done. This is the first one he does. It's gotten better. Don't get me wrong. His movies have gotten better. This movie is not terrible. It's not bad. It's just there are some things that don't necessarily make sense and some character motivations that just don't necessarily work for me. But I love the practicality of it. I loved how beautiful it was. Like, I really do feel like the only time I should ever watch this movie is in 10 years from now when it is re-released in IMAX, or in 5 years when it's re-released in IMAX. I feel like that's when I should be going to see this movie. Um, so it is a really great movie. I do enjoy this movie. It's beautiful as hell. Just some things really do bug me about it. And certain things just don't line up. And it does bug me at times. Um, so yeah, that is the end of my spoilers, end of my review here. Please tell me what you guys thought of this movie. Has this movie aged well for you? Or, has it stayed amazing like you always thought it was? Or has it gone down? Let me know, because this is just a movie that is really interesting to me. that, maybe in 50 years from now, this movie could be one of the greatest movies of all time. And I can totally understand why people would think it's one of the greatest movies of all times. But at the same time, I feel like I'm always going to have these issues with this movie. Maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, please comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. I will talk to you guys soon and have more Christmas movies and other things coming your way. Thanks, guys. Bye.